We'll begin with a reminder that our ground for so many of our conversations is that life is hard, and we as humans are inclined to make it harder. And one of the ways we make it harder is when we get caught in wandering mind. Our thoughts arise in wandering mind from instinct, when we're responding, reacting to our capacities to avoid that which is harmful and to approach that which is beneficial. And so we have thoughts that are about avoiding. We have thoughts that are about desire and craving. And these thoughts also arise from habit, how we have learned to navigate life with our thoughts on a daily basis. And these habits can be very useful, and most of the time they are. However, a lot of times we have habitual thoughts that are also arising from one or more of the four conditions, especially the third condition of our experiences when we were young. And those thoughts keep arising in response to some event that reminds us of an experience we had when we were young. And when we're in this place where thoughts are arising mostly out of instinct and habit, then most of the time our perception is limited. Our ability to see clearly is just not fully there. And our minds get cloudy. They get fuzzy. We engage in fuzzy thinking. And when our perception is limited and we're in fuzzy thinking territory, this is likely to be a space of discontent, discomfort, and it can even be suffering. In contrast, our thoughts can be intentional. We can use these fabulous minds that we have to be skillful about surviving. And even more importantly, we can use these fabulous minds for evolving. But the thoughts have to be intentional as opposed to arising just out of instinct and habit. So let's take a moment and do a little reflection around this. Taking a deep breath and allowing your attention to come into this moment. And bringing to mind a recurring difficult experience in your life. Nothing huge, but something that's annoying, keeps coming up. Reminding yourself of the specifics. Putting yourself in that place. Really getting into it. And as you're now deep in this experience of a difficult situation, noticing the thoughts that are arising. No need to control them, simply noticing them. Noticing the extent to which wandering mind, distracting mind, is present. With our minds generating 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, it's not surprising that in these moments, it's easy to fall into wandering mind and be distracted. So now bringing your attention back to this moment and this experience. And recalling the email that I sent out a couple days ago with the presentation that Kay had done on a Sunday morning a few years ago, in which the conclusion was, a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. There was this extensive research of hundreds of thousands of people using a smartphone, checking in with people multiple times a day, saying, what are you doing? What's your experience? How are you feeling? And what they discovered was that when people were focused, when they were using their minds intentionally, that's when they were at their most comfortable. And when they were in a place where they were unfocused and they were in wandering mind, that's when they were most likely to be uncomfortable, when there was most likely to be discontent. And Kay's comments that morning also highlighted this other research that was done by a combination team from UVA and Harvard that invited people to be alone in a quiet room by themselves with their thoughts for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And it was so unpleasant for almost everybody that they complained relentlessly about it, about how they'd much rather be listening to music or listening to some podcast or reading something. So the researchers decided to explore this a little further, and they gave the subjects a diversion opportunity. And they asked everybody who participated if they would be willing to pay a significant sum of money to avoid a painful electric shock. And all of them said yes. So the diversion that was available to people was a painful electric shock. So they put the people in the room and left them with their thoughts and gave them the option for a diversion. And 25% of the men, 25% of the women, and 2/3 of the men chose to give themselves a painful electric shock rather than sit with their own thoughts. Wandering mind's an unhappy mind. And isn't it amazing what we're willing to do to avoid it? So this is where we land with thoughts. They can be a resource, or they can be a source of suffering. And how we make that choice makes all the difference. And of course, it's mindfulness. Our mindfulness and meditation practices that create the space where we feel a sense of openness, where we're able to explore possibilities and make an intentional choice. And in fact, use thoughts as a resource rather than subject ourselves to the unpleasantness of them. So let's do a practice around this. So settling in and choosing your own way of settling in, of bringing your attention into this moment, finding a comfortable posture, closing your eyes when you're ready, perhaps taking a couple of deep breaths. And directing your attention now to your breathing. And in particular, paying attention to how your breathing shows up in your body. Having a fully embodied breathing experience. And if your attention wanders off with a thought, being aware and gently guiding your attention back to embodied breathing. Expanding your awareness from where you're feeling the breathing to your whole body. Just scanning your body and focusing in any place that you feel a noteworthy sensation, and focusing your attention on that sensation for a few moments. And now back to scanning the body. Finding another place to focus. Staying connected to your body, embodying this experience. And again, expanding your awareness and opening to thoughts. Noticing what thoughts are showing up. Noticing what this experience of open thinking is like. And bringing your attention back to your body. Going back into embodying mode. And allowing your attention to toggle back and forth between open thinking and embodying. And in closing, offering yourself a few words of kindness for being present to this experience.